You're listening on the podcast. Welcome to this week's podcast. Um, we're going to talk about good content. What is it? Why we need it? All of the things. Um, this topic is something that actually had a different topic I was going to write about and talk about this week, but this came up because it is a question that I have heard so many times over the course of the last 6 years of as I started off writing content for businesses, which I still do. I still write content for clients. But that just, as I got more into content creation, I was helping clients and community members do their content creation. And the question that always comes up is, well, what even is good content? What does that mean? Um, and I said in this week's post, it's a question that has, hi, Amanda, a simple answer, but not an easy answer. It's not one of those answers that I can be like, well, this is the definition of good content. Um, so the way I broke it down in this week's post, and it's up if you want to go check it out, is kind of the way I view good content in terms of how it is connecting you with the audience that you want to reach, with the audience that you want to connect to, because that's the whole point, right? If you are on the internet and you are creating content, there is a reason. Either you're doing it as part of your business, you're doing it because you're growing a brand, even if you're maybe just doing it as a hobby. If you do want to know and understand what good content, and I keep wanting to do air quotes with good content, but what good content really looks like, I break it down into four different areas. And the thing about content, and it's so funny, I do feel like it's one of those words where we've said it so much, like when you repeat a word enough times that it just stops making sense. I fear sometimes that we get to that point with content. I get it. I understand it. I wish there was a different word for it, but it just is what it is. But the thing that I have found really interesting in terms of content creation and just being online and creating online for other people is that with the dawn of the internet over the last almost 30 years now, um, and then with the rise of online business, which is is really if you think about it in its infancy, because online business boom really didn't happen until the 2000s. Yes, there was people doing business and stuff online before then, but it really didn't hit till the mid 2000s. And being the age that I am, I have been on the internet since its inception, and I have kind of watched, and that eventually became part of this content creation. And so when we talk about doing it as part of your business strategy, as part of your branding strategy, um, even if you are maybe just on Substack looking to build your newsletter, the creating of content is like the bricks you're putting in the wall to build the thing, right? Like I said in the post this week, I like to think of the content you're putting out there as like the sandwich board that you would go put outside your store, on the street, that tells people, draws people in, here's what's going on, here's what we got inside. That should kind of be what content does. And actually, Amanda is here, and she is also a copywriter, content writer. So please jump in with any of your thoughts, because I would love to hear them too. Um, so the thing that was, at least for my part, that was interesting is when I first got online back in the day, I was just doing what everybody else was doing. I was on Facebook in the beginning, and I was, posting my silly Katie drank a Diet Coke today, because that's what Facebook was. It was so innocent and precious back in the day. And it was very social, which is crazy to think about. It was the truest and the most social I feel like social media ever was back then. So I did that. And then I started blogging. I had an online journal. It was called Zanga. If anybody remembers Zanga, you do have to be of a certain age to remember Zanga. And it really was just like an online diary. And then I created my own website. I started my own blog. And then eventually pivoted and started my own freelance writing business. And it was at that point, and this was like 2019, that I had to start thinking about content creation in a much more strategic and deliberate way because I was now creating content as a billboard for my business. Like, in order to have a business, you need to have clients or customers or whatever it is. And in order to bring them in, you do have to do the marketing and the promotion. And if you're if you're doing it online, the content creation, because that is where your marketing and promotion happens. It's not the only place, and we can talk about that too. Um, OMG, I love Zanga. Zanga and LiveJournal were my gateway drugs to content. And yes, Amanda, I feel like there is a whole generation of us that Zanga kicked that off for us big time. It definitely did for me. Um, but anyway, so as I started to really have to think about content creation in a more business minded way and learn it in that way, I did have to shift and relearn a lot of things. And so over the course of the last 6 years, as I have really taught myself content creation, I'm certified in digital marketing. I understand the ins and outs of content creation really, really well for myself and for others. And being able to think of it in terms of um, strategically for your business, that's when the whole like, well, what is good content? Right. And when we think about, I think if you were to like even ask yourself, like, what is good content? Well, good content is something you pay attention to, right? Like, even think for yourself. We all consume a ton of content every day, right? But think about even for yourself, like, what would you classify as good content? Okay. It grabs your attention. It usually will draw you in. It uh engages you, it piques your interest. It 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 it, it garners some sort of reaction from you. Now, it's easy to say as a consumer, like, oh, yeah, that's good content. It is a little bit tougher if you are somebody who's trying to create content for yourself. It's a little bit tougher to really understand how to do that, especially if you're not somebody who, let's say, is a natural writer like I am. Or, I do a lot on TikTok and now on Skylight. And that sort of like set up your phone, record a video comes very easy to me. And I know that's not the case for everybody. So when it comes to creating this content, this strategic, good content for your business, for your brand, whatever, there's a couple places that I do want you to kind of start at. First of all, and I will say this, um, and I've said this to clients in the past, is in terms of content creation, if you're just getting started with it, start where it's easiest. I think a lot of times, like, we get into these spaces, like, we have to create everything on every platform and for all, like, no, 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 you're going to start where it's easiest and you're going to build from there. But if you're in the midst of creating content and you are ready to sort of like be a little bit more strategic and really focus on the quality that you're producing, because that's the other thing too. I think we think that like we have to post 20 times a day and blah, blah, blah. But like, I sure you can if you would like to. That is always available to you. But I really would challenge people to like focus more on the quality of it because good quality content is going to outperform noisy quantity far better. Um, so actually, let's pause really quick. What even is content? I've said it like 6,000 times. What even is content? So according to like the online dictionary, but also like my own my own definition, content is any kind of curated strategic information that is produced either written, audio, visual, um, or video, right? Audio, video, visual, written. Yes, those are the four. And for our purposes that you're then putting on the internet. I mean, you could, if you produced um like an email or a newsletter that you mailed to people, like snail mail, that's also content. If you're creating like maybe a little magazine, that's content. If you're sending a direct mailer postcard, that's content. But for our purposes, we're talking about doing it online. So that is what content, if you want to define it, is. And why is it so important? I said this a little bit earlier, like the internet is noisy as hell, right? We're currently on the internet. We all spend a lot of time on the internet. It is a noisy place. So if you are somebody who's going to put the time and energy into creating content for a purpose, right? So like business, brand, whatever, there's a reason you're doing it, not just for funsies, even just for funsies, but a more specific purpose. Making sure that you are putting your effort and time into the quality is going to help you stand out, not to everybody. We're not trying to talk to everybody, but to the audience that you're trying to reach. Every business, every brand has a specific audience that they are trying to reach. For example, my audience is mid-age entrepreneur, creative women and moms. So I don't care if the content I create doesn't speak to men. Don't care. I don't care if it doesn't speak to um, high school kids. I don't care. They're not the audience that I'm trying to reach. I say a lot of times, like, if you try and speak to everybody, you speak to nobody, it gets lost. So good content speaks directly to that audience and allows them to see themselves in it, identify with it. Um, and that's why it is so important in terms of business building, brand building, because that's the whole point. Like you're trying to reach this audience so you can bring them into a community, you can help them into a program, you can serve them in whatever way you do it. So that is the why of the whole thing. We're doing this because we care, also because you care about what you're putting out there. Like, I would love to bring some integrity. I shouldn't say bring back, but like insist on a little bit more integrity in our content creation. And it is hard these days with AI, with everything else, with, content like churning and just like getting as much out there as possible. I would love to bring some like integrity and quality back to the content, especially for us small creators, small business owners, those of us who are doing it ourselves. Like, I want you to be proud of what you're putting out there. So let's get into it. What is good content? Okay, so this is how I break it down into four different places. And again, this is in this week's post if you want to go check it out. Um, Number one, good content is clear, very easy to understand, and is relevant to the audience you want to reach, right? Like this starts back if I want to put on my marketing hat, which I don't want to put on, but understanding your audience, understanding what they need, what they desire, where their challenges are, where their frustrations are, what transformations they're seeking. That's all part of understanding the audience you're trying to reach. So good content speaks to all of that. It matters to that audience. It makes a difference in some way. It answers a question they have. It reflects something back to them that they see themselves in. It solves a problem. It gives them more information on a topic that is important to them. It is clear, it is easy to understand, and it is relevant to the audience you're trying to reach. That's number one. Number two, good content is authentic and doesn't sound like somebody else. Um, I know that it is really difficult when you are like in the content trenches. Like maybe you're just starting out, maybe you were in the beginning stages or you're trying to get traction. It is hard to not see somebody else or find another brand or creator who seems to be just like blowing up and doing amazing and go, okay, I'll just do what they're doing. I've done it in the past. I get it that sometimes it just seems like a means to an end. But if you're really wanting to focus on good quality, it has to be you. You have to be at the very center of that content. It has to be your voice. It has to be your tone. You have to speak the way you would speak if you were talking to anybody in your real life. Um, I am a huge proponent of really making your business and your brand as true to you as possible. I like and I tend to connect with creators and businesses whose mission, vision, beliefs align with mine. So I do talk about that in my content. I make no secrets about where I fall. I use the kind of language in my content that I use if you were talking to me one on one. You're gonna hear fucks and shits and like That's how I speak. That's me. That's part of my business and my brand. So that's what you're going to get in my content. Not everybody's going to like that, and that's perfectly fine. I'm not for everyone, and everyone is not for me. But if you are somebody who that's kind of how you roll too, cool. We probably have something in common. I'm creating a little bit of um, recognition there. People are going to feel comfortable, or they're going to feel uncomfortable, which is good. Then they don't need to be a part of this. That's the other thing about good content is it does do the job of sort of like weeding out the people who aren't for you, right? Like if somebody comes across something like, no, absolutely not, I don't agree, not interested, swipe, whatever, cool, great. That leaves more space for the people who will align with you, the people who are going to resonate with your message. But that can only happen if what you're creating is totally authentic and totally you. So that's the second thing. The third thing, and this like leads right into it, good content creates connection and resonates, just as I was saying. It makes your reader, your viewer, your listener, whatever, with my elbow, it makes them feel very seen, very heard, very understood. They recognize themselves in it. You might be creating content around a story that you went through, a journey that you went on, something that happened with one of your other clients, whatever it is. And if your audience, because it's so clear, because it's relevant to them, because it is very authentic, they see themselves in it and they go, oh my gosh, me too. Or, oh, I know exactly what that's like. That is good content. That is content that's doing its job. It's bringing in the audience that you are looking to connect with. So that was number 3. Number 4, good content has a clear purpose. And yes, of course, it is to bring in the audience. But if you want to, again, go back to a little bit of marketing stuff, we hear a lot of times about like CTAs, call to actions, what you want your content to do. Good content does have a purpose. Maybe a specific piece of content is to sell a service. Maybe it is to just build trust. Maybe there's no CTA, there's no go click here, buy this, whatever. It's simply to connect. I create content that has no other purpose than to share my experience with my audience. That's it. And if you're on Substack, it's like, sure, subscribe to my publication. But like, I just want to connect with you. I just want to share something. Either it's a personal thing, it's a lesson learned that I can share with you that maybe is going to help you. Maybe it's something you've experienced. We can connect over it. There's also going to be content that is very business focused, right? We have like sales pages, we have sales copy, landing pages, things, different sort of content, whether again, it's written or recorded or whatever, that serves a purpose. This particular piece of content wants to get you to sign up for a newsletter. It wants to get you to check out this link or go to this thing or buy this thing or join this thing. Good content has a very clear purpose, whether or not your audience knows that right off the bat. Like, yes, there's going to be content where you automatically know, like, oh, okay, this person wants me to consider buying this thing. But it's that like nurture, trust building content, that connection building content that still has a purpose, even if your reader, your viewer, your listener is not like, oh, that's okay, that's what they want me to do. That's what she's trying to do. She's trying to build a connection with me. They don't know that, but that is what you're trying to do. So, quick recap. My four criteria for good quality content. It's going to be clear and relevant. Clear meaning easy to understand. So not a lot of jargon. I'm not a big fan of using a lot of like, unless you're going to define it. If you are in an industry or a business where there's like jargon, steer clear, because you want to make sure that it's clear and easy to understand to your audience. And it's also relevant to the audience you're trying to reach. Clear and relevant. Number 2, it is very authentic. It is very you. It does not try to sound like anybody else or any other brand. It does not try and mimic another brand, especially if it's a well-known brand, guys. You don't want to do that. Good content is really authentic and very much you. The third, good content good content creates a connection and resonates with your audience. I just want to point out that a lot of this is like going back to the audience you're trying to reach. Okay. If you're doing this strategically as part of a business plan, as part of a marketing strategy, a content strategy, understanding who you're speaking to is going to be the number one thing that you want to spend some time on. So it's going to create a connection and resonate with that audience. And the last thing is that it's going to have a purpose. It's going to do something. Good content has a job. Again, especially for us business owners, brand owners, our content, we're not just doing it for funsies. Sometimes we are, and I love that. But you're doing it as part of a step forward in your business or your brand. Good content, again, are the bricks in the wall of that, are the bricks on the road, I should say, as you're making your way down the path. Um, in the post this week, I also shared a couple pieces of content that I consider really, really good. You can go check those out. One of them is a blog post from a fantastic coach, human design expert, Heather Vickery. And this post is like a great example of clear purpose and connection. Like she writes so specifically to her audience that like it's very easy for somebody who is not her target audience, her ideal person to say, oh, this isn't for me and move on. Amazing. I love that. The second piece is actually from a Substacker, a fellow Substacker, Dre Beltrami, who I'm obsessed with. And her content in general, but especially her notes on Substack are the most like her authentic, real content I've seen in a really long time, which is one of the reasons I was so drawn to her immediately. Like there was an immediate sort of like, oh, you are for me, I am for you. You are my vibe. And it is because in all of her content, she truly comes at it so authentically, so real. And then the last one, and I tagged her in it, is she's a very small creator over on TikTok. I found her recently. And the thing I love about her name is Hannah. And her TikTok is linked there if you want to go check it out. She does like relatability and connection really well and so simply. Her videos are like, they feel very much like a FaceTime with a friend. Like, oh, I'm so glad you picked up the phone. Let me tell you about this. There's like a coziness to it. There's an intimacy to it without being like corny or cheesy. And I think she's like still under 1,000 followers, which is crazy to me because she's just so good. And so again, that is that kind of content that like it builds connection and it resonates with an audience and it draws people in, which is what good content will do, no matter what form it takes, no matter if you are simply writing on Substack or you are doing video somewhere or you're doing a podcast. Any medium that content takes can be good content as long as you are really willing to pay attention to the couple of things that make the most difference. So again, you can check out the post from this week. I'm also doing in October inside the Haven for our paid members. I'm doing a using your voice in your content workshop, which is part of that relatability, being able to connect, being very authentic, being able to use your true voice. And I also have a content challenge coming up at the end of October, which I'm putting together and working on. And it's going to be so good. So thanks so much for hanging out today. We got through a lot, I know, in 30 minutes, but check out the post for more. Shoot me messages or questions if you want to talk about it. And of course, if you are not a subscriber or member of Inside the Haven, please go come hang out with us. There's a lot going on, a lot coming up. Okay. Thanks for being here, guys. I so appreciate it. See ya.